Hi, my name is Briana Curran, and I'm the Vice President of Community Giving and Communications for Wells Fargo in New England. So let me start telling you about Wells Fargo. We are a 154-year-old financial services company. We got our start back in the 1800s, securely transporting money and bars of gold from the East Coast out to the West as people were moving out West in stagecoaches and covered wagons drawn by horses. And our logo to this day is a stagecoach led by a horse and a nod to our beginnings. Today, we operate in all 50 states. We also operate globally. We have 88 different lines of business. So we do lots of different types of banking. We lend to companies like Coca-Cola, mid-sized companies like LL Bean, even a bakery maybe in your town where you live. And we have them use our checkings and savings accounts to buy the bagels and the beans that they use to make the coffee that they sell every day. We also do lending to consumers for homes and cars and higher education. And most critically, it's giving back to the communities where our customers and employees live and work. And so that's where I come in. So I manage the charitable giving and the philanthropy, as well as the public relations and the internal communications for Wells Fargo in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. And so I find nonprofit organizations that are involved in the areas that Wells Fargo has identified as critical to community development. And really, it's because we feel as a bank and as a corporation, we have a responsibility to support the communities where we operate and make sure that we are addressing the social challenges that these communities are facing. And every community has something that they are working towards or some economic barriers that people in that community have to overcome. And so it's my job to go out and give the bank's money away to charities that are focused on three areas for us: housing affordability, so that's making sure people have a safe, secure place to live; financial stability, it's making sure people have jobs that provide them living wages so they can save and budget and build their wealth and afford the things that they want to be able to afford, like a home or higher education or groceries or clothing. And then it's investing in small businesses and making sure that they can open up and they can thrive and hire from the community. And we put a special emphasis on business owners who are military veterans and women, making sure they have access to the education to be able to open up and thrive around the country. And so I meet these organizations, I get to know these nonprofits. I travel around my 5-state region, meeting different people from the communities to understand what's happening in Augusta or what's happening in Portland, and how can Wells Fargo leverage our money to invest in nonprofits that are addressing the challenges facing those communities. I also find ways for our employees to go out in the community and volunteer their time and their skills, because it really, good community investment, good philanthropy is about more than just money. And so I find a way for our people to give back. And so that might be building a home with Habitat for Humanity. It might be teaching a financial literacy class with Junior Achievement and making sure that we are a good corporate citizen. The other piece of my job is promoting and enhancing Wells Fargo's reputation in the market. And so that might be improving our reputation amongst the media, elected officials, our own employees, future employees, and then of course clients and customers. So I try to get the media, whether it's radio or TV or newspapers or online media outlets, to cover the grants we are making or the volunteer activities we are engaged with. But it's not just about shining a light on Wells Fargo and what we're doing. It's also about shining a light on the nonprofit that we are partnering with and working on this social issue with. It's about shining a light on the social issue and why isn't there enough affordable housing in a particular community, and who are the different stakeholders involved in trying to address that and create more affordable housing, which means more educational opportunities and more jobs for lots of people. And so I'm always trying to make sure that externally people are aware of what we're doing, but also internally making sure our employees are aware of what the company supports, why we support it, and how they can get involved. So how did I come to this work? I grew up in New York City, and when I was 15 years old in English class, I read this story by James Joyce, an Irish author, and the book is called A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. And when I was 15 years old, I had lots of things in my head and lots of emotions I was feeling, and honestly, I didn't feel like anyone really understood me. And when I read this book, it felt like someone had turned a light on for me and somebody understood me and got me. It was amusing that it was an Irishman from the 1800s who understood this young woman in New York City. But I felt in that moment, this is what I want to do for my career. I want to be able to use words and storytelling and communications to make people feel something and act on those feelings the same way I felt so moved and motivated by A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. So I studied communications and public relations at Boston University, and I found different jobs where I could use storytelling and writing to share information, whether it was about a product or a company or a person, and things that were of interest to other people. At a certain point in my career, I was evolving beyond the communications, and I heard about this new sort of area of companies called corporate social responsibility. And companies have always thought about how do we give back to the community, but there was a lot more of a demand from customers and elected officials that companies think about it in a more formal way. And so I started working at a company where we launched a foundation and we were starting to make grants. And I realized that it was important for companies to give back. There's a social contract between companies and their employees and the communities where they operate. And I love the idea of being able to use the company's resources to hold up our end of the social contract and invest in boys and girls clubs and junior achievements and YMCAs and different organizations that really were the heartbeat of so many communities, but then also use my storytelling to talk about those stories of impact and who was being served and how the company was giving back. And so I have always, throughout my career, including now here at Wells Fargo, been able to combine my love of corporate social responsibility and communications. So before I go, just a couple of pieces of advice for you to think about. One is I would try lots of things. When I was in college, I did lots of different internships to find out what I loved and what I really liked, but as importantly, what I didn't like and what I didn't want to do for a job. So jobs are always important to tell you what you want to do and reinforce or validate for you what I do like, but they're also just as important for what isn't of interest to you or maybe doesn't meet your needs. The second thing I would do is as you go throughout your career, think about what am I good at and what do I like? And hopefully you find jobs that marry both of those areas up. And it may be making a list on a piece of paper of things that I'm good at and things that I like, and trying to find those connections. And that list is going to change throughout your life, but it's always a really great way to help direct your career and make sure that you're going after jobs that are meeting both of those needs of yours. And then finally, as you're making decisions throughout your career, a lot of times we put pressure on ourselves. Is this the right job? Is this the right promotion? Should I leave this job? Is this the right path? I don't think jobs and the career paths that you choose are right or wrong, or yes or no, or black or white. I think different paths lead you to different decisions. They tell you different things. They teach you things that you might not have learned had you not gone down that path. And so if you get into a job and you don't like it, that's okay. I've had jobs I didn't like either. I took from it what I could. I learned what I could. And then I decided how to make a decision to get myself out of it and hopefully not repeat that sort of choice again. And so everything is just a series of choices and a series of paths. And as long as you think about what's important to me, what do I like, what am I good at, and you follow those paths, and sometimes it's a straight path, sometimes it's a circular path, you will have a meaningful career. And all of the time that you invest in yourself and your education and your training will be well worth it. Thank you.